Hello friends. This is Fiction Quest. How are you all? So in this video, we will see, what if Naruto becoming the king of the pirates in the world of One Piece? But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video. It was a nice and sunny day in East Blue. While the seagulls were flying overhead, some sailors were trying to collect a barrel that was drifting in the ocean. As one of the sailors, though the hook and rope, it missed the target. Damn, I missed again. That's strike 3, buddy, you're out, the other sailor said as he saw his friend miss the barrel for the millionth time. What are you two doing? You guys stuck. They turned around to see another sailor, laughing at the one who missed the barrel while trying to keep his cool. The other two sailors just ignore him and focus on the barrel. As the laughing sailor calms down, he suddenly looks out to a near island and looking around for something. As the other two lifted the barrel up to the deck, they notice how heavy it is. It's really heavy. Maybe it's full of sake? It's a lot. Well, it's ours now. As they put the barrel down on deck, the sailor who was in the crow's nest has a horrified look on his face as he sees a pink ship flying, a Jolly Roger with its skull looking to its right. As he sees the flag, he leans down over the rails and shouts to the two men. Trouble to the starboard. There's a pirate flag on top of the mast. A pirate ship. Enemy attack, enemy attack. As the two go to warn the captain and passengers, the other ship open fires on them, sending 3 cannonballs straight at them. As they miss, the ship sways side to side as the passengers scream. Suddenly, the two men burst into the room with a panicked expression on their faces. Captain, pirates have been spotted and have started to fire on us. What? As the ship sways again, the people start to panic while the captain tries to calm them down and think of a way to get them all to safety. As they start rushing out of the room, one orange-haired girl smirks to herself and walks the other way. Fire! An almost man-like voice could be heard shouting as the pirate ship opened fire on the unsuspecting and helpless ship that was the site of their next haul. As the head of a woman could be seen looking over to the other ship, she then moves her eyes over to a young pink-haired boy that was shaking like a leaf while trying his best to not piss his pants in front of her, sadly, though it didn't look like he was going to make it. Kobe, the woman says while turning back to the other ship as the cannons kept firing. Hi, the pink-haired boy said. He was a small, chubby boy with round-framed glasses, wearing a white button-up t-shirt with 2 blue stripes going down each shoulder. He had black pants that went down to his ankles and red and white sneakers on his feet. Who's the most beautiful woman in this ocean? The woman asked him with a promise of pain in her voice if he even dared of answering wrong. It's the captain of this ship, of course, Alvida-sama. Like that will ever happen. The boy replied with the last part in his head as he slowly started sweating from the previous question just asked. Bawahahahahaha. The woman laughed as she hit her mace on the ground. She was a very obese woman with long wavy black hair and freckles on her cheeks. She wore a white cowgirl hat with a large red plume, a red neckerchief, a pink plaid shirt, and a blue captain's coat over it with the arms in the sleeves, unlike many other pirates. She wore rings on her fingers and her long sharp fingernails had red polish. She had a purple sash with a flintlock pistol tucked in it and some jewels. She also wore graying pants and red shoes with gold buckles. Well said. She responded as she continued to look at the ship. Thank you very much. The boy replied as he thought he had been saved. For now at least. Alvida-sama. She turns her head to another one of her crew. It's been a while, hasn't it? She smirks and says, indeed, now pull alongside the ship. Alvida-sama. A small ship has been spotted next to the vessel, what should we do? She raises an eyebrow at that news but continues to smirk while saying, well then, we will just have to see who exactly is trying to board it and teach them a lesson along with everyone else on that ship. The sound could be heard as the whole crew, except Kobe, was getting ready to board the boat and start to rob the place. Meanwhile, on the ship, 2 new figures could be seen walking down a corridor of the ship looking for something to do. Man, what a bother, I wish that they will just hurry up and attack already. The female voice whined as the other figure could be seen rolling his eyes at the female. Just be patient, Kurohime, it's not like they will be going anywhere, right? The male figure said as he tried to talk his companion out of her boredom. But Naru-kun, I'm tired of waiting, we've been on that boat for weeks and I have had nothing to do but fish, talk to you and occupy myself with other means. she said while a hint of seductiveness in her voice. The male figure was about 23 years old at a height of about 5 feet 10 with an athletic body figure and average weight. He had sun-kissed blonde hair with red streaks in them, ocean blue eyes that can make women get lost in them if they gaze upon them, a handsome lean face with no baby fat located anywhere with 6 whisker marks, 3 on each cheek, that make the girls squeal, kawaii, at as it makes him look cute. He was currently wearing a plain white V-neck t-shirt with what appeared to be fishnet armor underneath it, with a bark blue unzipped jacket over top with white stripes going down the arms and the kanji for storm, lan, on the back. He was wearing black loose pants that went to his ankles with a belt around him that held his katana in place and black open-toed sandals on his feet, Anbu ninja sandals from anime. The katana was in a blood-red scabbard with a golden hang cord. Its handle was red with a black cord wrap and a golden pommel. The guard for the sword was a hold circle that had a spiral design to it, the Uzumaki clan symbol. The sword was one of the 12 supreme grade swords, and the previous katana owned by his mother, Benihime. This man was Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of the legendary swordsman Kushina Uzumaki, also known as the Akai Chishio no Habanero, and the famous pirate Minato Namikaze, otherwise known as the Kiroi Senko, a name given to him because of his lightning-fast speed with his Biri no Mi powers. Naruto blushed at what his newly introduced lover was implying and was trying his best to not shout at the girl right here and now. Said girl was now sporting a sly smile at the sight of her roommate, and was thinking of new ways to tease him when this was over. Oh, how she loved teasing him, especially after one of their sessions, and she was just looking for payback for what he did sometimes to get them there. This girl was Kuretsuchi, the granddaughter of the famous Vice Admiral, Onoki of both scales or the fence sitter, renowned for his mastery of the Rokushiki techniques and his Paramecia class devil fruit, the Seru no Mi. She was standing at about 5 feet 6 with a curvy body and a nicely developing chest. She has short, black hair and pupil-less, pink eyes that are accentuated by her eyelashes running upwards at the corners. She wears a red long-sleeved shirt with her right sleeve missing and a lapel over her right leg, the brown flak jacket, fishnet tights and a skirt over them. She also wears open-toed sandals with a pair of gloves. As they continued down the hallway, they hear a sound above deck and assume that they have already started boarding the ship. This is what lead Kuretsuchi to smile with glee at the new enemies that she gets to beat up on, while Naruto thinks to himself as to how he is in a relationship with her and why. Then he remembers that she will be sleeping after the fight, so he had time to write his stories that she doesn't know he writes. The Howling Moon. He has made a fortune on these books, mostly with the female population, under the alias of Arashi Kazama. The reason? Kuretsuchi is a big fan of them. He didn't need to give her any more ideas of what they should do. All of a sudden they hear a noise coming from another room. As they look in, they see 3 men standing around a big barrel of sorts and a pink-haired boy that was shaking like a leaf at what they were about to do, smash open the barrel. As the big one brought his fist down to open the barrel, a teenager around the age of 17 with a straw hat on his head, wearing short blue trousers with white fur around the bottom of the legs, along with sandals and a sleeveless red vest, pops out of the barrel and punches him right in the jaw. He also has a scar with 2 stitches underneath his left eye and short black hair. What a great NAAAP! He shouted as he stretched out of the barrel. As he hears a thud, he looks around and sees a guy on the floor. What the? Who are you guys? He asks the 2 stunned men as they look at their fallen comrade. As they look at him, they comically scream, "WHO, the hell are you? He'll catch a cold if he sleeps here." The straw hat wearing boy continues saying without a care in the world. "It's your fault." They both mumble out as they try to get his attention. They both pull their swords out and point them at the boy. "You bastard. Stop screwing around. Don't you know we're pirates?" one of them says before he notices the kid isn't even listening and is just trying to talk to the pink-haired boy. "I'm really hungry. Got any? Listen to what I'm saying." Both Naruto and Kuretsuchi sweat drop at the scene before them. It was like some bad comedy gag. "You brat," the other pirate says as they both get ready to cut him down. The pink-haired kid gasps as the Straw Hat Boy turns around to see them bring their blades down on him. "Die." The pink-haired kid closes his eyes as the boy turns around to face them. The next thing second, the broken bits of the blade are sent flying towards Naruto and Kuretsuchi and just missed their head, but they are both unfazed by this. As the pink-haired kid opens his eyes, they winden to see the Straw Hat Boy all right and the two pirates on the floor shaking like a leaf. "What are you doing all of a sudden?" the boy asks. Who are you?" one of the men asks while still shaking. "Me? I'm Monkey D. Luffy. Nice to meet you," he grins as the two men run out of the room dragging their fallen comrade behind them. What just happened?" the pink-haired kid asks as he is still in denial of what just happened. "One guy just beat 3 of Alvida's men, without even blinking." "What's with them?" Luffy asks, still confused by the whole thing. "They were scared because you just beat them without even getting a scratch," Naruto says, getting both of the boys' attention. "Really? I didn't even know," Luffy says while looking at both Naruto and Kuretsuchi. "Who are you two?" "Oh right. Where are my manners? My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and this lady next to me is Kuretsuchi." Naruto introduced themselves to Luffy. "Hey, how's it going?" Kuretsuchi replies with a grin on her face that Luffy replies. "It's nice to meet you, but what are you doing on this ship?" "Well, that's not a long story actually, you see," Naruto would have continued, but the pink-haired boy spoke up. "What are you 3 doing? Hurry up and run. When they come back with their friends, you'll be killed." "Even so, I'm hungry," Luffy says with a grin still on his face. "I think I saw a storage room down the hallway," Kuretsuchi says while pointing her finger down the hall. "How can you say that so calmly? There's lots of pirates on the deck," the pink-haired kid says while trying to pull Luffy away off the ship, who was currently following both Naruto and Kuretsuchi to the storage room. "All right, food, 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 food," Luffy says as he sees the currently stocked storage room. He made his way to an open crate full of apples and starts eating them one by one. "I'm Kobe, by the way, and you're Luffy-san, Naruto-san and Kuretsuchi-san, right?" the now introduced Kid Kobe says while looking between Luffy, Naruto and Kuretsuchi. Naruto and Kuretsuchi nod while Kobe continues. "That was amazing what you did back there, Luffy-san. How'd you do that?" "These are good," Luffy says while stuffing his mouth. "Is this a pirate ship?" he asks. Kobe replied, "No, this ship isn't. This ship is being attacked by Alvida-sama right now." It doesn't really matter. Are there any boats on this ship?" "Anyo, there should be, but my ship got sucked into a whirlpool." A whirlpool?" Kobe, Naruto and Kuretsuchi shout at Luffy. "Why, you should be dead," Kobe says, a little shocked by the news. "Yeah, I was really surprised by it. Are you a pirate as well?" he asks, turning his attention away from the crate of apples. He was surprised by the question he was asked, then looked down to the ground in sadness. "That was a faithful day. That day, I went aboard, intending to go fishing. But it turned out that boat was going to a pirate ship. For the past 2 years, I've been working like a slave so they wouldn't kill me," Kobe said as his head was still facing towards the ground. "You're a freaking idiot," Luffy says without even thinking. "How can you say that?" Kobe asks as he starts getting depressed. "Because you are," Kuretsuchi says bluntly as he gets depressed even more. Naruto then asks why he can't run away. Kobe states that it is impossible and that the thought of Alvida finding him gets him scared and unable to do anything. "Oh, you are a coward. I don't like you," Luffy states, with Kuretsuchi nodding in agreement as Kobe has anime tears running down his face. Naruto just shakes his head at this and continues to look around the room. Up on the deck, Alvida's pirates were moving chests full of gold and jewels towards their ship before the Marines can arrive to arrest them. While this was happening, the orange-haired girl who is now sporting common pirate clothing finishes stuffing a bag full of treasure that she has stolen from said pirate and was just making her way out. On the other ship, Alvida was yelling at her men to hurry up or they will taste her iron mace when 2 of her crew came running up the stairs yelling at her. "Alvida-sama, there's a problem. What is it? You're so noisy." The barrel was a monster. Alvida widens one of her eyes and growls at them. She then throws her club at and yells, "Who's a monster?" As the club hits all 3 of them and send one into the sea, the remaining 2 shake their heads and say, "That's not it. A weird person came out of a barrel. He might be a bounty hunter." "What?" Alvida asks while glaring at her 2 men. "You're right. The silence between the four people had been quiet for a while until Kobe spoke up. Completely right, if I'm only brave enough to drift in the ocean in a barrel, there's something I want to do. Anya Luffy-san, what were you doing drifting in the ocean in a barrel? I'm going to be the Pirate King. Luffy replied with a smile as the other three had their jaws dropped open in a comical fashion. P. Pirate King? They all said to Luffy as they thought he was crazy. Yeah, seriously. Seriously. That means Luffy-san is a pirate? Kobe then said as he started to sweat a little. Right. Your crew? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Don't have any. Looking for one now. Said with a more than bored expression. Seeing Kobe spaced out a little, he waved his hand in front of his face to get his attention. Kobe then suddenly stands up and looks at Luffy. A pirate king is someone who has everything in this world, wealth, fame, and power all united within one person. Meaning you're going after One Piece? Kobe ranted on as Luffy nodded his head. You say? All the pirates in the world are going after that treasure. I am too, he said, getting excited. Impossible, 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 absolutely impossible. It would be impossible to stand at the top in this great pirate era. It can't be done. Impossible, impossible. Luffy had enough of his bickering and bopped him on the head. Why did you hit me? Kobe whined as he nursed his now bumped head. Just because. Getting back up, he replied. It's fine, I'm used to it anyways. Luffy then pulls his hat down over his eyes while smiling and says to him. It's not if it's possible or not, I do it because I want to. I decided to become the Pirate King. I don't care if I die, at least I die fighting for it. All three of them looked wide-eyed at what Luffy just said. Naruto thought back to when he was under the care of his godfather and remembering that his father said the exact same words he said when he strived for his dream. Those words, they sound just like what my father used to say. Monkey D. Luffy, huh? Maybe you might get a crew sooner than you think. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts when he heard Kobe talk about his dream of becoming a Navy officer and asking if he could achieve it, which Luffy replies with a yes. I'm going to get out of here and stop working as a slave for Alvida-sama. No, I will catch Alvida-sama. Kobe stopped talking when the ceiling collapsed and a huge object crashed down with it. Making friends like this. Who are you going to catch? Kobe. A voice yelled out of the smoke as Kobe was shaking like a leaf. When the figure emerged from the debris, Naruto and Kuretsuchi did a double take as they looked at what they could be described as a fat blob with a cowgirl getup that was making them sick to their stomachs. As Alvida looked around the room, she spots Luffy over Kobe's shoulder and smirks at him. You're not the pirate hunter Zoro. She then looks over to Naruto and Kuretsuchi. None of you are. Zoro? Luffy asks with his head tilted to the side. Kobe. Alvida shouts, making Kobe jump in fright. Who's the most beautiful woman in this ocean? That is, of course, he was about to say but was interrupted by Luffy. Oi, Kobe. Who's the fat lady? As soon as he said that, all of Alvida's crew dropped their jaws to the ground as he just said the word that was taboo, while Kuretsuchi was snickering in the corner trying to keep herself from laughing at the Straw Hat Boy's stupidity, while Naruto was just looking wide-eyed at what the kid just said. Never comment a woman's weight. It will end bad. Fat? Now he's gone and done it. Alvida quickly sprouted tick marks all over her head and shouted in rage. Brat. Luffy jumps out the way in time as her club to come down and smash the floorboards. Luffy then grabs Kobe and jumps up to the deck as Kuretsuchi and Naruto follow him. As they land, Luffy then bends backwards to avoid a slash from one of Alvida's men, then headbutts him into the ground. He then swings around and punches one of them who tried to attack from behind. As a group of them go to cut him down, he jumps back to avoid it and smiles as he grabs his arm. Kobe smiles back but then gasps when he sees one of the pirates sneaking up on Luffy. He goes to warn him but the pirate is hit by an iron club of some kind, sending him flying. You know it's not fair to attack someone from behind. As they follow the voice, they see Naruto with his arm out with what looked like the iron club coming out of it. Everyone looks with wide eyes as Luffy has stars in his eyes at such a cool move. As he retracts the club and it morphs it back into his arm, a group of pirates go to attack him only for their swords to break on contact with his skin. Nice try, but I ate the cane no am I. Now I'm a metal man, he says as he smirks at their reactions. While they were still in shock about what happened, they suddenly got hit with a giant stone sledgehammer and got hit back to their ship. Hey, don't forget about me. I ate a devil fruit too. I ate the ishi no mi. Now I'm a stone woman. Kuretsuchi says as the sledgehammer turned back into her hands and placed them on her hips. Luffy's eyes were practically shining as bright as the sun at the power the two people just used when he noticed several people behind him and just started running away from them. It's not fair to attack with more people. As Luffy keeps running, he grabs the mast with one hand and keeps running. As he did this, his arms stretched and just kept screaming as well. As the pirates saw this, they rubbed their eyes to make sure they weren't seeing things, then screamed at what just happened. Just kidding, Luffy says as he prepares for his attack. Gomu Gomu no. The men started running away as he started shouting, but they were too late. Roketo, Gomu Gomu no rocket. He then launches into them and knocks them over like dominoes as Alvida, who just climbed up to see he men get defeated, had her jaw on the ground at what she just saw. Kobe then walks up to the three of them and asks, Luffy-san, Naruto-san, Kuretsuchi-san, what are you? Luffy just stretches the side of his mouth and smiles. Me? I'm a rubber man. And we just explained we ate the devil fruit and we are super-powered humans too. Kuretsuchi chips in as Luffy snapped his gum back to his mouth. Rubber man. Metal man, stone woman. That is just, he was cut off when he sees Alvida behind him and hides behind Luffy, who was just standing there like nothing was going on. You three ate the devil's fruit, right? Alvida questioned as she looked at them in interest. Yeah, I ate the Gomu Gomu no mi. Luffy replied, is that so? I heard rumors about it, but I never thought it really existed. You also have some moves. Are you a bounty hunter? She as she smirked at Luffy. I'm a pirate. Just you? It's just me right now, but I'll find a crew eventually. Let's see. I think 10 people sounds about right. Luffy says, still ignoring the smirk on Alvida's face as she started laughing and saying that if they are pirates and not of the same flag, then they are enemies. As this was going on, Naruto, out of the corner of his eye, spots an orange-haired girl with a big bag over her shoulder sneaking away to the other side of Alvida's ship. He snaps back to Alvida and Luffy when he hears Kobe state that Alvida is the ugliest old hag on the sea and that he was going to join the Marines and capture her as Luffy and Kuretsuchi laugh at what Kobe called her. As Alvida brought her club down on Kobe, Luffy got in the way and it hit him in the head. He smirked beneath his hat and threw his arms up. That won't work, because I'm rubber. He threw his hand back as his arms stretched and balled it into a fist. He pulled it back while shouting. Gomu Gomu no. Pisatoru. Gomu Gomu no pistol. He hit Alvida in the stomach, sending her flying into the sea where she landed on her crewmate she hit earlier. As Alvida's crew looked on in disbelief at what just happened, Luffy turned to them. Oi! They jumped a little when they heard him. Give Kobe a boat. He's going to join the Marines. Let him go. Hi, they said nervously as they ran off to find a boat. Hold up. Luffy and Kobe look over to see Naruto looking at them. Why not use our one instead? We could give you a ride. Really? Thanks. Luffy say as the ship sways as cannonballs hit the water. They look over the side to see 3 Navy ships firing at them. Look, Kobe. Isn't that great? Why don't you go? Luffy then gets slapped over the head and hold his lumps as Naruto tells him that they will just think Kobe is with the pirate and arrest him. They then follow Kuretsuchi to the boat and drop down. As they landed in the water, Naruto spots the girl he saw before in a boat next to them and waves. The girl blushes at Naruto seeing his face and waves back. As the Marines close in, they part ways and set sail. Later on, we see the 4 shipmates in the cabin of Naruto and Kuretsuchi's ship. Too lazy to write a description of it, it looks like Sanji's ship after they leave the Baratie. We managed to get away somehow, Kobe says as he calmed down from what just happened. Luffy just smiles and laughs. Ha ha ha, that was fun. Luffy-san, if One Piece is your goal, that means you are heading towards the Grand Line, right? Kobe asks as Naruto listens in on the conversation. It's also called the Graveyard of Pirates. Yeah, that's why I need a strong crew. Naruto decided to join in on the conversation. Well, maybe we could help you there, Luffy. Luffy and Kobe turned to him as he said that. I mean, me and Kuretsuchi have just been traveling around the sea for weeks, and with you around the trip might seem fun. What do you say? Can we join? As he waited for Luffy to answer, Kuretsuchi came out to see what was going in and saw Luffy smiling at them. Sure, you two can join my crew. You seem real strong and you have the perfect ship for the beginning of our voyage. When Kuretsuchi heard that, she ran over to Naruto and bonked him on the head with a hockey-infused fist, leaving a steaming bump on his head. What the hell does he mean we are joining his crew? I don't want to join. You did this so I would leave you alone and not distract you from drawing, didn't you? She yelled while shaking her fist at him. Tai, that didn't actually occur to me actually. So we can join, he said as another lump appeared on his head. Yep, but first, that pirate hunter. What kind of guy is he? Luffy said as he faced Kobe. You mean Zoro? I heard he was captured by the Marines. What, he's weak then? Not at all. He's a terrifying beast, Kobe shouted as he looked at Luffy questionably. Why are you asking me this? If he was a good guy, I thought I'd make him a part of my crew. Luffy finished with a grin while Naruto and Kuretsuchi were looking at him if he were stupid. You're going to do something reckless again. He might be a good guy. He's been caught because he's a bad guy. It's impossible, 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 absolutely impose. He was silenced with a bonk on the head. Why did you hit me? Just because. As they continued arguing, Naruto and Kuretsuchi, the latter, who was still sulking because she was going to have less time with the former, thought it was going to be a long voyage. I hate you, Naruto. Bonk. Tai. What a day. It's gorgeous, was the sound that could be heard as Luffy shouted out while Kobe and Naruto smiled as they remained on course to the marine base they were heading to. It sure is, and as long as we can stay on this heading we should reach the marine base in no time, Kobe said as he sat against the railing of the ship. Wow, Kobe, you're great out here. You mean we will reach the place we originally set out for? Luffy questioned as he sat on the head of the ship. Of course, I'm just using the skills every sailor should have. Yay, should have, Naruto said with a deadpan expression. But why he doesn't and set sail to reach the Grand Line just by drifting around is beyond me. Luffy just kept on laughing as he looked out to sea. Kobe tilted his glasses up and exclaimed. I don't know what you should be laughing about, because at the marine base, they're holding the great pirate hunter. Roronoa Zoro. They say he's the man that diced up his bounties like an animal bent on carnage. A bloodthirsty beast. He's been called a living, breathing demon in human form. Luffy just laughed some more as Naruto raised an eyebrow at Luffy's reaction. Even he might be a little scared of him, a little. Well, even if he is, I want to see him myself, Luffy said as he kept laughing like a madman. Naruto just sighed and went back to bed to join Kuretsuchi. As the ship sailed up to the docks and Naruto anchored it, Luffy jumped up onto the ground and stretched his arms. We're here. The town where the Marines are, he exclaimed as he looked towards the Navy base that was stationed at the top of the island with a small town that was in between the docks and base. As the four of them looked around, the townspeople looked to be going about their everyday lives and chatting to one another. Kobe looked at Luffy with concern and said, Hey Luffy-san, it's not a very good idea to make him a part of your crew. I haven't decided if he's a good person yet. He's been arrested because he's a bad guy, Kobe exclaimed as Naruto and Kuretsuchi kept walking with Luffy ignoring him as he spoke. Luffy picked up a pear and took a bit out of it and paid the vendor and looked to the base. I wonder if that Zoro is inside the base. As soon as he said Zoro's name, the people around him backed away in fear and did not move a muscle. Naruto walked over to Luffy and whispered to him. Oi, Luffy, it seems that Zoro's name is taboo here. Luffy just shrugged his shoulders and kept on walking. Anyway, let's head to the marine base. You want to join the Marines, right? Kobe. Kobe looked at Luffy a little bit shocked but said, yes. But I'm not ready yet. I heard that a Captain Morgan is in charge of that base. When Kobe finished that sentence, all the people around his cowered away in fear and looked more scared than when Luffy said Zoro's name. Both Naruto and Kuretsuchi raised an eyebrow at this. Why would the people be more afraid of a marine captain than a notorious pirate hunter? They kept walking until they reached the marine base on top of the hill. It had big iron gates that had the kanji for marine on it. The building was a blue camouflage design and had three circular-like buildings that could be seen in a large stone wall surrounding it. Yosh, this is it. Luffy said as Kobe cried tears of joy of his dream coming true at last. As Kobe went to say goodbye to the group, he looks over to see Luffy trying to look over the wall and spot something. Kuretsuchi explains that Zoro would probably be located in a deep holding cell underground or something like that when Luffy runs off, stating that he found him. As they all look over the wall, they see a man tied to a cross-like pole in an open yard wearing black trousers tucked inside black boots, a plain white shirt with 3 undone buttons at the collar with a black bandana tied around his head and 3 earrings dangling off his left ear. He also wears a green haramaki around his waist. That's Roronoa Zoro, Kobe thought as he looked at him with fear. If we untie that rope, he can escape, right? Luffy says as he points and smiles at Zoro. He was then met with a bump on the head courtesy of Kuretsuchi. Don't say stupid things like that. Yay, what do you think will happen if we let him go? I'm sure he will kill you, Luffy-san. Kobe shouts as well as he looks at Luffy as if he was crazy. Luffy just looks back at Zoro and says, no problem, I'm strong. What's with this guy? Kuretsuchi and Kobe think as they were interrupted by Zoro. Hey, you 4, you're bothering me. Get lost, he says as he looks at them. Kobe waves his arms frantically and moves over to Luffy and tells him it won't matter how many lives he has. While this was going on, Naruto just sighs and shakes his head at their conversation. He then stops and looks over to his right to see a young girl in a blue and green striped dress climbing up a ladder and telling them to be quiet. They all raise an eyebrow at this as the girl throws a rope down the wall and walks over to Zoro. Kobe starts freaking out, thinking that the girl will be killed and for one of them to stop her. As the girl stops at Zoro, she then holds her hand up to present him a small package of some sort. What? Zoro asks as he looks at the girl. Aren't you hungry? I made some onigiri, she says with a smile and starts opening the wrapping. You're gonna get killed, shorty. Go away. You haven't eaten anything though. Here, this is my first time, but I made it with all my heart. Zoro raises his head a little, shocked at the girl's words, but then returns to normal and keeps looking at her. I'm not hungry. You're annoying. Hurry up and go home. He raises his voice a little at her as she looks at his confused. As he was going to continue, he was interrupted by a voice that was filled with arrogance. You shouldn't be bullying kids. Everyone looked over to see who it was and Zoro narrowed his eyes at the person. He was a skinny and lanky-looking young man with light blonde hair shaped like an oval on top of his head. He wore violet-colored uniform with white shoes and a rubber band ring on his left hand. He walked up to the girl and Zoro with 2 marine officers behind him and stopped in front of them. Looks like you're still energetic, Roronoa Zoro. Luffy just looks at the guy and comments, and another weird guy appears. Kobe just looks relieved as he saw that they were Marines. Thank goodness. They're Marines, so I'm sure that the girl would be fine now. The man just looked to the girl and sees the onigiri and smiles. Hey, that onigiri looks pretty nice. He then snatches one of them off the girl and takes a bite out of it. He then shoots his eyes open and spits it out. Nasty. It's full of sugar. Onigiri needs salt. Salt. He shouts at that girl as she looks a little scared at the man. But I thought it would taste better sweet, she says as he swipes it on the ground and stomps on it and mixes it with the dirt. The 4 watching just looks at the scene with disgust in their eyes at a Marine doing such a thing as the girl looks at the remains of her present with tears in her eyes. You haven't read this poster yet. Anyone who helps this criminal will be executed. Marine Captain Morgan. The girl then turned white in fear and was shaking at the news as the man smirked and laughed at her. Brat, you know who my father is, right? Father? Luffy questions as he tilts his head. Then Kobe states that he must be Captain Morgan's son as he then orders one of the soldiers next to his to toss the girl over the wall and threatening him by telling his father about this when he looks at he with shock. He then walks over to the girl and says that he is sorry and to curl up into a ball before tossing her over the wall. As she starts to fall, Luffy jumps up and catches her and breaks her fall. Gee, thank you. Kobe, Kuretsuchi and Naruto, with Luffy's hat, run over to see if they're fine. Naruto gives Luffy his hat as Kobe looks over the girl. While back in the courtyard, the blonde man smirks while Zoro looks at him with a bit of anger. You bastard. Hahaha. It seems like you're pretty stubborn, being alive still. Yeah, I will live through the entire month, Zoro says, not taking his eyes off the man. Well, Do your best. He then walks off laughing while Zoro states that he only has 10 days left, then he will be free. After he was gone, he looked up to see Luffy standing a few feet from him just staring at him. So you're a bad guy? He asks as he didn't move from his spot. You're still here, being publicly humiliated. Are you really strong? Mind your own business, Zoro say while starting to get pissed off at him. Luffy then walks over to him and states that he would have escaped in 3 days while Zoro states that he is doing it to show them all what he can do. Hey, what a stubborn guy. As Luffy goes to leave, Zoro stops him and tells him to hand him the remaining onigiri. Are you really going to eat this? It's more of a dirt ball now. Shut up and give it to me, he shouts as Luffy looked at him confused. He puts it in his mouth and starts eating it. Told ya so. It was delicious. Tell the girl thanks for the food. Luffy smiles and walks away while Naruto, who was watching, just thinks that there was more to Roronoa Zoro than meets the eye. Really? The girl asks Luffy as the 4 of them were sitting in town as Luffy told them what Zoro said about the food. Yeah, he ate everything. Luffy replies as he looked at her. I'm so happy, she says as Kobe questions if Zoro really is an evil guy like people say. Kuretsuchi snorts and states that if he was evil he wouldn't have cared about the girl's onigiri and to not judge people by what you hear. No, well, he's in jail because of us. She then went on to tell them about how Helmeppo, Captain Morgan's son, was terrorizing the town with his cute pet, that was more like a wild wolf, and tried to attack her only for Zoro to defend her from it by knocking it out and him taking the blame for it, sparing them of execution and then letting him go. It's been 3 weeks. That Helmeppo punches and kicks Zoro while he's tied there. She starts crying as Kuretsuchi tries to calm her down and hugs her. They then hear glass breaking and go to check it out. When they find the source of the noise, they see Helmeppo shouting out to bring him food and breaking all the dishware and the tables. As they walk in, Naruto sees the orange-haired girl he saw the other day from Alvida's She and smiled at her. When the girl saw who it was, she blushed at him as she got a good look at his face. She had never seen someone so handsome before in her travels. She was interrupted from her thoughts when she heard Helmeppo speak. Oh, that's I'm tired of waiting. I've decided to execute Zoro tomorrow. Look forward to it, everyone. As he laughed, something inside Luffy snapped and he ran at Helmeppo and punched him straight into the wall. Who the hell are you? Helmeppo asked while holding his now bleeding nose and looking at Luffy with a little shock and fear. Luffy-san, stop it. He's trash, Luffy said as he struggled against Kobe and Naruto as they held him back from doing any more damage. You hit me. I'm Captain Morgan's son, Helmeppo said in disbelief at what this calm miner did to him. So what? I'll tell my father and have you executed. Why don't you do something yourself? Luffy-san, calm down. Kobe spoke up. You shouldn't make the Marines your enemy. I've decided, Kobe. I will have Zoro join me, Luffy said with determination as Naruto and Kobe looked at him with wide eyes. Well, at least things won't be boring around the ship, and I can actually have an intelligent conversation with another guy besides Luffy. Naruto thinks to himself as he lets go of Luffy and follows him out. Meanwhile, at the Marine base, we see a very tall, intimidating man with blonde hair and a steel jaw with a high-ranking Marine's cape-like coat that was light blue in color with a dark blue button up top with its sleeves missing and blue-colored camouflage pants tucked into combat boots. I am great, said the man as he looked out the window towards the town. Yes, that is correct, Captain Morgan, said an officer that was behind him as he salutes to Morgan. But there hasn't been much tribute to me lately. The soldier was getting nervous as he spoke. The problem is that the income of our people has decreased. Morgan was silent for a moment as the soldier was getting more nervous and finally said. The problem is not having enough admiration for me. Isn't that right? Before the soldier could reply, Helmeppo burst into the room, cupping his cheek and panting furiously. Father, Morgan looked at his son out of the corner of his eye. There's a guy the first want you to kill. In the courtyard, Zoro was tied to the post and was having a flashback to when he was training with Kuina when he suddenly snapped out of it and looked up to see Luffy. You again? You have too much free time, Zoro said as he just looked like he was ignoring Luffy. I'm going to untie the ropes, and you will become my nakama, Luffy stated as he continued to look at Zoro. What did you say? He questioned the rubber man as he looked at him weirdly. I'm looking for people to join my pirate crew, he said as he walked closer to Zoro. I refuse. You want me to be a bad guy? How annoying. What's wrong with being a pirate? Pirates are scum. Who would want to be one? Does it matter? You're known as an evil pirate hunter. I don't care what society says. I've never regretted doing anything. I will survive and do what I want to do, Zoro says with determination in his voice as he smirks at Luffy. As that's so, but I've already decided that you will be my nakama. You can't decide that by yourself, he shouts at him. Luffy then looks at him. You use a katana, right? Zoro calmed down a bit and spoke. Yeah. But that stupid son took them. I'll go get them for you. What? So when I return your swords, you will become my nakama. You really are dense. I thought it was blackmail. Zoro looks behind Luffy to see Naruto with his hands in his pockets with a bored look on his face. Who are you? Zoro says looking at him and the sword that he carried. I'm Naruto, and this baka with the very thick head is my new captain, he said as he looked at Luffy, who smiled and gave a thumbs up to him. They then watched as Luffy run off. Is he really going to attack the base by himself? Zoro asks Naruto. If he is, he's not doing it right, he says deadpan as Luffy ran in the opposite direction of the base. That's the wrong way, baka. Both Naruto and Zoro shout at Luffy, who just stops and looks at them. Both of them sigh when they hear Luffy shout, Gomu Gomu no Rokuto, Gomu Gomu no Rocket. Zoro then goes wide-eye as Luffy stretches his arms and flies towards the marine base. That guy, what the hell is he? Zoro asks with shock in his voice. He ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi, one of the Akuma no Mi, devil's fruit, that allows a person to gain superhuman powers at the cost of not being able to swim in the ocean or any saltwater. Naruto replies as he tells Zoro all he knows about the devil fruits. On top of the marine tower, the soldiers could be heard panting and heaving as they tried to pull up a giant stone statue of Captain Morgan that had his right hand as an axe. Said man looked at the men doing all the work as he told them to pull it up with all their might and make it stand with one pull. He was busy admiring the statue to his glory when his son interrupted his thoughts. Father, why aren't you helping me get revenge? He punched me, Helmeppo whined as he pointed to himself. He punched the face that even my father hasn't punched. Without turning around, Morgan spoke. The reason I have never punched you in the face, do you know why? Helmeppo was a bit taken back by the question but answered. Well, that is because I'm your. That's right, you are. Morgan then turns around and punches Helmeppo with a left hook that sends him flying into the nearby wall. Not worth hitting, my worthless son. He finished as he held up his axe hand a bit and lifting Helmeppo off the ground. Don't misunderstand the one who is your great father, in other words me, he said as he threw Helmeppo down on the ground. He turned his back on his son and continued. It seems that there was an intruder in the execution field. That runt, I took care of her. Helmeppo replied, scared of his father and his actions. You killed her, right? And no, she is just a kid, he replied, not liking where this was going. Morgan just pointed to one of the men and told him to go fetch the girl and kill her. When he refused to kill her despite his orders, Morgan hit him over the head with the blunt side of his axe. Everyone on the roof, even Helmeppo, was freaking out because they thought he had killed him. Morgan looked on as if nothing happened. I became a captain because of this arm and my power. Listen, a title is everything in this world. I'm the best captain at this base. That means I am the greatest person. That's why everything I do is right. Isn't that correct? He said with a look that promised pain if they answered wrong. Yes, that is correct, all the men replied, scared for their lives. He then went on to talk about how long it took for the statue of his gloriousness to be completed and that it was a symbol of his power and magnificence for all the world to see. After saying that he will deal with the kid later, he tells the men to continue moving the statue. As it was being lifted, one of its sides scraped the building and Morgan stood directly over the man responsible for damaging it. Hey you bumped it. I'm very sorry, I was careless, the man said, fearing for his life. I said this statue represents myself. If you scratch it a little, that's treason against me. Die. As Morgan raised his axe to kill the man, Luffy came flying up onto the roof, breaking the statue in the process. As everyone looked at the statue in shock at what the kid had just done, with jaws dropped, Luffy just had a small sweat drop on his head and raised his hand. "I'm sorry. Arrest that guy so I can kill him myself," shouted Morgan as he looked at Luffy with murder in his eyes. As all the men shouted and ran around like headless chickens, Helmeppo pointed at Luffy and said he was the one that hit him. "Hey, it's you," Luffy says as he pops in front of Helmeppo, scaring him. "I was looking for you. Come with me. I need something to be returned." He then takes off, dragging Helmeppo with him. "After them. Don't let them escape," Morgan says, not wanting to let the person responsible for ruining his greatness get away. "Captain, there's someone in the execution field." "What?" Morgan looks to the field and one person by Zoro trying to untie him and someone else running to him as well. He just looked on with an irritated look. "I'm surrounded by traitors. Where is Zoro's sword?" Luffy questioned Helmeppo as he dragged the crybaby with him all over the base without a care in the world. Panicking Helmeppo just answered him. I'll tell you, just stop dragging me on the floor." Luffy then skids to a stop and Helmeppo points down the hall and says that they are in his room and just past it. "Why didn't you say so earlier? We have to go back, right?" He then hears clicking and turns to see 3 Marines behind him with guns pointed at him. "Don't move, except for letting Helmeppo-sama go." "No way." Luffy then brings Helmeppo up as a shield. "But you can try shooting me if you want." Helmeppo then starts freaking out and telling them to not shoot while Luffy rams them out of the way and continues running. Meanwhile, both Naruto and Kobe were busy trying to get Zoro's ropes undone and set him free. While Kobe was, Naruto could have just cut the rope with his devil fruit powers, but he wanted to see what Zoro meant by, he would show the world. "Escape, Zoro-san. If you do that, you'll be killed. I can't stand by and watch these Marines anymore. I want to be a good Marine. Stop. I can't run away. I have 10 more days left. You will be executed tomorrow." Naruto butted in, shocking Zoro in the process. Helmeppo had never intended to keep his promise. That's why Luffy got mad and punched the Tem. He did that, knowing him. Even if I have been with him a short while, he will probably have Marines on his ass and is trying to outrun them right now. I'm not telling you to join us, but you could help us. You have the power to help just like Luffy has the power to save you from execution. Just believe in him. Zoro, a little shocked by Naruto's words, just had a thoughtful look on his face about what to do. "Hold it right there." The 3 of them turned to see Morgan with his men all aiming at them, ready to fire. "By the treason you have committed against me, you will both be executed right here." "This is bad," Naruto said as he started to form a kunai to cut Zoro's binds and run. "You guys did some interesting things. Do you and the guy with the straw hat intend to start a coup?" Morgan questioned Zoro as he moved forward with his axe arm resting on his shoulder. "I've always fought my battles alone, unlike you, hiding behind your troops and creating chaos," Zoro shouted as he felt one of his arms moving more and the rope becoming undone. "Roronoa Zoro, do not underestimate me. Your skill, when compared to my strength, is nothing. Aim," Morgan shouts as Naruto quickly cuts the rope and Zoro looks wide-eyed. "I can't die in a place like this," Zoro shouts in his head as he thinks back to training with Kuina. Flashback, "You're weak as usual, Zoro." Flashback end. "Alright, fire." Zoro closed his eyes and waited for the hail of bullets to come while Naruto, who had given up on cutting the rope, ran in front of them to protect them. As he ran, he saw something hurling at them and land to protect them from the bullets. It was Luffy. Zoro, Kobe, Naruto and even Morgan all had wide eyes at what Luffy just did as he smirked. His skin then stretched in some places as he pushed forward and sent them all back at them. "That won't work. Ha 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 ha. Told you I was strong. Oi, want to tell me just who the hell you are?" shouted Zoro as Luffy just smiled at him. "I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm going to be king of the pirates." What? The Pirate King? Are you serious? Do you know what you're saying? The Pirate King is the Pirate King. What else could it mean? As Kobe goes on to explain about how he thinks Luffy could find the One Piece and become the Pirate King, Luffy unties the swords on his back and hands them to Zoro. "Here, your sword. Which one is it?" "I couldn't tell, so I grabbed all 3. All 3 are mine. I use Santoryu." Zoro explained as he felt his right hand getting free. You'll take them right. But if we fight together, you'll owe me. Being killed by Marines or coming with me. Which one do you pick? Zoro smirks at Luffy's statement, you're the son of the devil. Fine, I'd rather be a pirate than die here. Yada, you'll be my nakama. You hear that, Naruto? Alright. This is perfect. I get it, now set me free. Zoro suddenly felt his right arm feel loose and looked to see that Naruto had cut the rope and was now telling Luffy to help with the others. The Marines, who were still shocked at what Luffy just did, looked at the scene in front of them. What is that guy? The bullets were useless. The guy with the straw hat isn't a normal human. Morgan says while not taking his eyes off them. It seems that he ate one of the Akuma no Mi. Akuma no Mi, treasure of the ocean, the devil fruit. It is said that whoever eats one will obtain unbelievable, superhuman power. The power to breathe fire, the power to create tsunamis. There are many rumors about the devil's fruits. Too many to know which ones are actually true. Captain Morgan explained to his men as he looked at the four as they untied Zoro. The secret to this is supposedly hidden in the Grand Adult, that Straw Hat's power is the power of the devil's fruit. Hurry, Kobe said as he cheered Luffy and Naruto on. I can't untie this knot, Luffy said as he tried to loosen the rope around his waist. Quit screwing around, Zoro shouted as he helped Naruto with the one around his other hand. It doesn't matter who he is. Those who oppose me will be executed. If guns don't work, then cut them to pieces, Morgan said as the Marines charged at them with their swords raised. Zoro, Kobe and Naruto looked at the soldiers with wide eyes as they tried to free him faster. That's weird, the knot is getting tighter, Luffy said as he scratched his head. Hurry up and give me my swords. Kobe just looked at the Marines with fear and closed his eyes and wait for the pain to come, but instead he heard metal clashing against metal. He opened his eyes to see Zoro standing there with one sword with black handles in each hand and one with a white handle in his mouth holding back the Marines with little difficulty. Make one move and you're dead. I'm so scared, the Marines said as they cried anime tears. I promised to be a pirate. Opposing the Marines will make me a wanted man. However, I'll tell you one thing. I will always follow my own ambitions. Ambitions? Luffy questioned him. To become the world's greatest swordsman. If you do anything that would cause me to abandon my ambitions, you will end your life with my sword. After that you can apologize to me, Zoro says with determination in his voice as Naruto could tell that he wasn't joking around. The world's greatest swordsman? That's nice. As the Pirate King's nakama, I wouldn't expect any less from you, Luffy said as he looked at Zoro with admiration. Hey, indeed, it doesn't matter if it's as a devil or a saint, my name will be heard all over the world. Man, this crew just gets better and better, Naruto thinks as he saw the Morgan command his men to finish them. Duck, Zoro, Luffy says as he moves his leg back. Zoro's eyes widen a bit before he ducks. Gomu Gomu no Muchi, Gomu Gomu no Whip. He then stretches his leg and knocks all the Marines out of the way. Alright, amazing, Kobe says as he watched Luffy take down all those Marines. What are you? Zoro asked with his sword still in his mouth. I'm just a guy who ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Luffy replies as he sways his leg. Gomu Gomu no Mi. A rubber human, so he did eat the devil's fruit, Morgan said as he soon heard the men say that they can't win and that they would lose. Morgan's eyes were shadowed as he spoke. This is a captain's order. Those who are complaining, shoot yourselves in the head. This military officer doesn't need weaklings like you. As the men started to point their guns at them, Luffy runs past them and punches Morgan, only to be blocked by his axe. Seeing that Luffy had this under control, Zoro takes the sword out of his mouth as Morgan took off his captain's coat. A civilian with no rank is no match for me. I am a captain of the Marines. Axe hand Morgan. I'm Luffy. Nice to meet you. Die, Morgan said as he took a swing at Luffy as he jumped over him and landed behind him. He then turned around and brought his axe down to split him in half only to hit the ground, causing it to crack down the middle. Luffy then put his feet together and stomps on Morgan's head, making him tumble and roll on the ground. What's going on? The Marines say shocked as Morgan was getting beaten down by this guy. Brat, die, Morgan brought his axe down again at Luffy, who was speeding at him but missed as Luffy spun in the air and kicked him again, sending him to the ground, where he kept punching him for ruining Kobe's dream of becoming a Marine. Wait, Straw Hat, look at this. Luffy just ignored the voice and kept on punching. I said wait, are you an idiot? Can't you see that I have a hostage here? Helmeppo says as he had a gun pointed at Kobe's head ready to fire. Oi, Zoro says to Luffy, gaining his attention. If you care about his life, don't move. You try anything and I'll shoot. Helmeppo warns them as he holds the gun while shaking like a leaf. Luffy-san, I don't want to interfere with your dream, even if I die. Kobe to Luffy with a determined look. Yes, I know, give it up, you stupid moron. Kobe is serious, Luffy say with a smile as he walks towards them. Don't move, I said don't move, I'll shoot him. Helmeppo shouts as a shadow moves behind Luffy. Be behind you. Gomu Gomu no. Towering behind him was Morgan with his axe raised ready to cut Luffy down. I'm the captain of the Marines. Axe hand Morgan. Pisuturu. Gomu Gomu no pistol. Luffy punches Helmeppo in the face as Morgan brings his axe down. Nice. Morgan's eyes then roll to the back of his head as his axe stops inches from Luffy's head and falls backwards on the ground. Quote. Zoro. Zoro lands on the ground with his swords up and in a stance and smirks at the rubber man. It was nothing, Captain. Luffy smirks as Zoro sheaths his swords and looks at the Marines who were celebrating and cheering out loud. What the? Their captain was just defeated and they're rejoicing. Luffy said as he was lost at what was happening. It's because everyone was afraid of Morgan, even his own men. It wouldn't surprise me that they're acting like this, I know I would. Naruto says as he looks at the scene in front of him. He then sees Zoro fall down and start breathing heavily. What's the matter, Zoro-san? Are you injured? Kobe started panicking as Zoro just opened his eyes. I'm just really hungry. Ah, man, I'm full. I was so hungry I was about to gnaw through my own bootstrap. Zoro said as he rubbed his belly while the rest of them laughed. Is that all you're going to eat? Lightweight. Luffy says as he finished eating a piece of meat. I don't understand how you can eat more than a guy that hasn't eaten in 3 weeks. Zoro exclaims, pointing at all the bowls that was stocked up on the table. 'Cause it's good, right, Kobe? Kobe just scratched his hand behind his head and blushed a bit and admitted that he had some too. But seriously, even rubber has its stretching limits, but it appears your stomach doesn't. Naruto said as he and Kuretsuchi sat at the bar drinking some sake. Rika, the girl at the beginning of the story, walks up to Luffy and states how amazing he was back there. Yeah, I'm great. I'll become even greater. I'm gonna become the Pirate King. I found a new nakama too. So how many shipmates do we have? I remember you saying that you were looking for crew members. To become Pirate King, you probably have a crew already. Zoro questioned Luffy as Kuretsuchi answered him. Yep, apart from you there's also me and Naruto. So that's 4 people so far. Even though I didn't join by choice. She mutters the last part to herself. Wait, you mean that the 4 of us is what amounts to a whole pirate crew? Yeah, but don't worry. We will gain more people along the way, Luffy, with his mouth full, states. Okay, well at least tell me we have a ship. This time it was Naruto who answered. Yep, the big one with the chimney at the dock. He pointed to the large ship that was currently being loaded with food from the villagers as a thank you from them. That, well it looks good, and it's great for a starter boat. Zoro said as he gazed out the window and saw the ship. It's small now, but I'll get us a really big one. Luffy said as he waved his arms around. Ha ha ha, and how are you going to do that? I want a pirate flag too. Luffy then started daydreaming about him being on a giant pirate ship with a Jolly Roger on his sails and flag. How cool. Luffy-san was born without planning abilities. Kobe said as Zoro rubbed his temples as he just got suckered at being a crew member to an idiot of a captain. Hey, where are you guys going now? Rika asked Luffy. That's obvious. We're going to the Grand Line. Luffy answered as Kobe spit out his glass of water that he was drinking. With just 4 of you. No matter what, that's impossible. Is the Grand Line really that dangerous? Rika asks. Of course it is. Kobe then went on to explain about the Grand Line and the Red Line and about many of the pirates going there never returning and calling it the pirate graveyard. But One Piece is there somewhere, so we'll have to go. Luffy says as he leans against the chair. Well, I guess we have no choice. Zoro agrees. Zoro-san, you too. It's Luffy's say-so. Kuretsuchi says as she glares at Naruto who was whistling innocently. Not you Kuretsuchi-san, Kobe says with anime tears going down his face. Then Zoro asks him. Who cares, you aren't going anyways. Well, even though I'm not going, I'm worried. Can't I do that? Because Luffy-san and I are friends, even though we just met, right? Yep, we're parting ways, but we'll still be friends. Luffy responds with a grin. Kobe began to tear up and tell them about how he never really had any real friends and how no one had ever stood up for him, but with their help he now had the courage to see his dream come true and fight for it. Rather than worrying about us, you should take care of yourself, Zoro says with a serious expression. Even though you were forced into it, you still served under the pirate, Alvida. Don't underestimate the Marine's information intelligence. Kobe just looked wide-eyed when Naruto jumped in. He's right. The Marines have men everywhere. If even one of them spotted you and you were found by them, they could report you in and be listed as a spy of pirates. You wouldn't be able to join. Kobe just looked at them and started to think things over in his head and about what he should do when the Marines walked in. Excuse me. A Marine with dark skin and a scar above his right eye wearing a standard sailor's outfit with a green necktie walked up to them. Is it true you guys are pirates? Yep. I just found a new comrade. We're pirates, Luffy said, not caring one bit that Marines were in front of them. We are very grateful that you saved us from the clutches of Morgan. However, now that we know that you are pirates, we can't look the other way, the Marine said as he adjusted his cap. You must leave this town immediately. The townspeople just gasped at what the Marines just said as he continued. We owe you our lives, so we will not contact headquarters. Hey Marine, what the hell are you talking about? You guys were also controlled by Morgan. These guys saved our lives. Right. The crowd began to rant on about how unfair it was about them being treated like that while Luffy just smiled and left with Naruto, Zoro and Kuretsuchi following him out. The Marine then looked at Kobe who had his back turned to him and was still rooted in place. Are you there Nakama? Kobe just stood there mumbling out words as Luffy looked back with his eyes shadowed by his hat and turned back around. Just a minute. Is he with you? The Marine asked Luffy as he turned around and looked at them. No, but I know all about this guy. Luffy then went on to explain about how Kobe used to work on Alvida's ship and what she looked like when Kobe just punched him in the face and started to beat him up. They kept hitting each other until Zoro stopped Luffy from overdoing it with Kobe and left for the docks as Luffy has a grin on his face that was missed by everyone in the bar. That was really something back there, Zoro said as the four pirates walked down to the dock. They might find out about it though. Hee, I'm sure that Kobe can handle it, Luffy grinned as they reached the boat. Well, that was a good experience, Naruto said as he started to load the boat. Everyone will hate us from now on. Very pirate-like. They all laugh as they untie the boat and raise the anchor. They stopped when they heard a voice and looked around to see Kobe standing there saluting at them and thanking them profusely for everything they did for him. I've never seen a Marine thanking a pirate before, that's one for the history books. Zoro states as they set sail and wave goodbye. They then were treated with an unexpected sight. The Marines at the base all saluted to them as they sailed into the sun. You have a great friend there. Kobe looked to his left to see the new head Marine smiling at him as he started to collect tears in his eyes but shook them off and stood tall and straight. Yes, sir. Men, what we are doing is against the code of the Marines. Our punishment is no food for 3 days. Understand? Yes, sir. The four pirates just looked into the sun as the wind carried their boat across the open ocean waiting for the new adventures that lay ahead. Luffy grinned as he held his hat and said, now we're well on our way to becoming pirates. Looks like it's going to be one hell of an adventure, Zoro said as he leaned up against the railing. No doubt, with him as our captain we will have nothing but trouble, Kuretsuchi says as she turns to Naruto, and you will sleep on the floor for the next week. Naruto went wide-eyed and started begging Kuretsuchi to reconsider as she just turned away and ignored him. Luffy just looked at his crew and grinned. I will become the Pirate King. Zoro just looked at Luffy with a raised eyebrow and questioned him about why he had this dream of finding the One Piece and becoming the Pirate King. I made a vow, to that man, to form an amazing crew, to find the world's greatest treasure, and become the Pirate King. This Straw Hat knows it all. Zoro and Naruto, who was listening, just raised an eyebrow and looked out to sea and smiled. This was just the start of one of the greatest adventures of a lifetime. Alright, let's go. Grand Line, here I come. Out in the open ocean in East Blue, 3 pirates were laughing as they counted up their latest haul of treasure. The ship that they were on had a pirate mark on the sail that looked like the skull had a big red nose on it and line that went straight through the eye holes. This was the mark of the buggy pirates. They continued to count as one of them spoke up. Heh, another big haul today. That's 2 in a row. All of this should keep Buggy from getting mad at us. Another one agreed as he continued to look at the gold as the last one looked out to sea and spotted something that caught his eye. Hey, what's with that boat out there? The other 2 looked confused before turning their heads in the direction of where the other guy was looking to see a boat floating out in the ocean. Thinking that there might be something worth stealing on board, they decided to check it out. When they got there, they found an orange-haired girl leaning off the side of the boat like she was passed out. Oh, it's a lady. Hey, wake up, little girl. The girl looked up to see the 3 smirking men and put on a relieved expression and smiled. Please tell me I'm not dreaming this time, finding help out here in the middle of nowhere. If you're real, could you get me some water? I'm so thirsty. She then moved her hand towards a chest that was on the deck. I'll give you as much jewelry and gold as you want. The men just smirked and told her it was no problem and hopped aboard the boat and made their way towards the chest. When they opened it, they jumped back in fright as a panda head jumped out at them and scared them. What the hell? Ha. They all turned back towards their ship to see it sailing away with the girl steering it and laughing at them. If you guys want, you can keep the whole thing, it's not my style. You witch, you tricked us. We're gonna kill you when we get you. You hear me? The 3 men screamed and swore at the girl as she told them that a cold front was coming and that the boat was going to capsize because of its size. Not a moment later, they were all found in the water, sending curses to the girl as she sailed away, taking all the treasure she had with her. I'm hungry. Shut up. The food's almost ready, can't you wait? Zoro grumbled out as he leaned on the deck of the boat as Luffy hung off the side. I had been 2 days since the pirate gang had left Shell Town and the crew was sailing to the next island, and Luffy wouldn't stop complaining about being hungry. Ugh, I can't take it any longer. I need food, Luffy said as he looked around for anything to eat. Zoro raised his eyebrow and asked Luffy what exactly he was going to do. All he got was Luffy looking up towards the sky and him smiling. Looking up, Zoro saw a giant bird flying in the sky above them. You're not serious, are you? Zoro questioned Luffy as said team stretched his arms to the top of the mast. Gomu Gomu no Rokuto. Gomu Gomu no Rocket. Luffy flew up to the bird as Zoro looked at him with a sigh. It was just then that Naruto and Kuretsuchi came out to see what they were up to. Oi, Zoro, lunch is ready, where's Luffy? Naruto asked as Zoro pointed to the bird in the air and the 2 lovers saw Luffy with the bird in the sky. That idiot, Kuretsuchi said. Couldn't he wait for 1 more minute? She finished as she glared at the bird and Naruto sighed before looking at the bird closely. It looks like Luffy's trying to say something. Zoro and Kuretsuchi looked at the bird too, and all 3 of them sweat dropped as they saw the bird with Luffy's head in its beak, indicating that it was bigger than any of them thought. Guys, I think I'm stuck, Luffy shouted from the bird as it started to fly away. You dumbass, how'd you manage to do that? Zoro shouted as he and Naruto used some of the oars on the side of the boat and started rowing after Luffy. I don't know, but when I get my hands on him I will kill him, Kuretsuchi said as Naruto sweat dropped at his girlfriend. Ever since Naruto volunteered for them to join the Rubberheads crew, she would use any chance she got to yell at him or hit him with a hockey-infused fist, which managed to do some damage to the confusion of the Straw Hat Boy. Help us. Naruto looked ahead to see 3 guys floating in the ocean screaming for help. Castaways at a time like this, what a pain. We ain't stopping, so if you want a lift you better grab on. What? They screamed as the boat rowed up to them as they all grabbed onto Kuretsuchi, who had her hand outstretched and climbed aboard. Oh great, you guys made it. Zoro said. You were gonna leave us to drown. They screamed before they pulled out their weapons and pointed at them. We're the crew of Buggy the Clown. We're taking over this ship. The apparent leader finished with a smirk as Naruto and Zoro looked at them with a dangerous look, and Kuretsuchi stood behind them cracking her knuckles. Oh really? Kuretsuchi said as the castaways started to sweat. A couple of minutes later, the three pirates, covered in bumps and bruises, then started rowing the boat for Zoro and Naruto, stating that they didn't recognize who Zoro was and that he had followers, which lead to Naruto and Kuretsuchi hitting them again. Thanks to you idiots we lost track of our friend, so just keep rowing. Zoro said with a bored tone as he looked towards the sky. Knowing Luffy, he should be able to take care of himself if he gets to land. That's great and all, but when we get to land we are dead. One of the pirates said to his companions. If Captain Buggy sees that we came back empty-handed, we're dead. Shit, you're right. Oh man. Huh, Buggy, who's that? Zoro asked as the pirates looked at him in shock. You mean you've never heard of Captain Buggy, the clown pirate? Another one of them asked. He's the captain of our crew. He's a monster who ate of the devil's fruit. Is that so? Zoro asked as Naruto looked at the gang and Kuretsuchi went back inside to complete lunch. Man, this is so boring. Luffy whined as he was still in the beak of the giant bird that was currently flying above a town that was not too far from where he was picked up from. He looked down towards the town and noticed that it was quite empty for a town of its size, but didn't think anything of it as out of nowhere a cannonball struck the bird that was carrying him and fell down to the ground screaming. Down below, an orange-haired girl was currently running away from a group of pirates that were on her tail with a map in her hand. She was wearing a white and blue striped shirt, an orange mini skirt with 2 white rings on each side filled in with orange or brown in their centers, and brown high-heeled boots. You better give us that map back or else. Get back here. She could hear the men behind her screaming to give her the map that she stole, but she wouldn't have that. She kept running and running until a large explosion in the sky caused her to stop and look towards it, the same with the men chasing her. Looking up, they all saw a person fall out of the sky and land right in front of them as a large dust cloud blocked their view. What the hell was that? The girl asked. A guy fell from the sky. One of the men answered her as the man came into view. Luffy, who had survived the fall, just brushed himself off and stood up without a care in the world. That was fun. I wanna go again. All of them looked at the guy in shock and confusion before the girl looked at the other pirates before grinning. Boss, I'm glad you came to rescue me, she said in a happy tone as she looked at him, gaining a confused look from Luffy. They're all yours now, boss, have fun, she then yelled as she ran away and hid in a nearby alley. She's getting away, one of the pirates yelled. Who cares? We've got her boss right here, another says as they approached Luffy. We'll make him tell us where the map is. Luffy didn't respond to them at all and just put his hands on his stomach. Man, I'm starving. Do you guys know if there's any place to eat around here? Don't screw around with us, the same guy said as he punched Luffy in the head, making his straw hat fly in the air. Luffy quickly turned around and punched the guy straight in the jaw before catching his hat and placing it on his head. Don't touch my treasure, Luffy said. The other pirates charges at him, only to meet the same fate as their friend as Luffy hit them square in the face, knocking them out in the process. Luffy dusted himself off and looked at the men in front of him with a sigh. Wow, you're strong, aren't you? The girl said from on a nearby roof as Luffy looked at her. Huh, you're the girl who set me up. Who are you? Luffy asked as the girl jumped down from the roof and sat at the edge of the balcony looking at him. I'm a thief that robs pirates, and my name is Nami. Hey, why don't you join me? Luffy looked towards her before walking away, saying that he didn't have a reason to join her. Nami then walked after Luffy, trying to make him change his mind. In the middle of the town, on top of a large building, a large group of pirates could be seen crowding around a large circus tent as a man was shifting nervously under the gaze of his captain. The captain in question, Buggy the pirate clown, he was wearing makeup with crossbones going down his face forming an X. He also had 2 blue lines near both of his eyes and red lipstick. He wore a striped white and red shirt with short sleeves, white gloves reminiscent of the ones worn by clowns, a green sash around his waist, and a pair of loose light brown pants reaching to his calves, just above a pair of striped socks and pointy shoes. He also has a purple scarf around his neck. Hanging from his shoulders there is an orange, fur-lined captain's coat. On his head he has an orange hat with his Jolly Roger on it, over a bandana with the same pattern of his shirt. But what stood out the most was the fact that he had a big red nose on his face that resembled that of a clown's nose. "You haven't caught the thief yet?" Buggy asked one of his men that stood in front of him, who was scared out of his wits. "Not yet, but Pirates 3, 6 and 2 are on it as we speak, sir," the man said as he tried to calm his captain down. Buggy looked at the man impassively before speaking up. "Tell me this, why on earth was the map stolen so easily?" Buggy asked as the man in front of him stepped back in fear. "If we're preparing to enter the Grand Line and go on a rampage, then why wasn't the map properly guarded?" Buggy said as his voice began to get louder. "Well, Captain, the map was just sitting out plain as the noise on your face," the man said, only to gain a horrified look as he went over what he just said. Buggy's eyes widened and he had a murderous look in his eyes. "What did you say?" I mean that it was easy for her to find and take it." "Did you just say something about my nose?" Buggy yelled at the shipmate as he got up in his face. "So, are you trying to say that my nose is funny? Is my nose amusing?" "No, you misunderstand. No, you were quite clear," Buggy stated as his voice rose and the shipmate shuffled far away from his captain as possible. Off to the side the rest of Buggy's crew looked in fear as they all knew what was coming next. The man who scurried away suddenly began to choke and was slowly lifted into the air by some unknown force as he floated over towards Buggy. "Who am I?" the pirate clown asked his choking follower. Cap. Toin. Buggy. "And what happens to people who defy me?" Flashy. "Death. Please, don't kill me," the man pleaded before Buggy let him go and he fell to the floor. "I will forgive you this time. Just go get the map back, and don't screw up again, or else." "You understand?" Buggy questioned as he walked back into his tent. "Yes, Captain Buggy." After some constant nagging and some bribing with food found around the town, Nami looked at Luffy as he ate a whole sandwich she had made for him in one bite and let out a satisfied sigh. "Delicious. So do you live here alone?" "Oh, this isn't my house, I'm just staying here for the time being," Nami said. "The locals are afraid of Buggy so they ran away." "Then you're just a petty thief," Luffy stated as Nami looked peeved at him. "That's rude. I'm a thief who steals from people who deserve it, pirates. So don't compare me to some scumbag, petty thief. A thief's a thief as far as I'm concerned," Lucy said as Nami huffed in annoyance. "My goal is to earn 100 million berries, no matter what." Luffy looked confused and asked why she needed so much money in the first place, but Nami refused to tell him. She then stated that with the map she had, making that much money would be possible. "Map, so you must be a navigator." Nami faces Luffy and had a confident smile on her face. "That's right, I'm the most skilled navigator you will ever meet," she said proudly. "That's great," Luffy said as he stood up. "Why don't you join my crew? We've been looking for a navigator." "Really? Yeah, you can be our newest crew member." "A crew of pirates?" "No," Nami said directly after Luffy comment and looked at him with a raised eyebrow. "You're a pirate?" "Yeah, I promised the man who gave me this hat that I'd become a great pirate," Luffy said as he looked at his treasure. "I hate pirates more than anything else in this world. I only like money and tangerines. Come on, be our navigator." "I said no," Nami said as she walked away from the Straw Hat Boy. What just shrugged it off and kept eating. Nami sighed as she looked out the window and wondered what she was going to do when she heard some voices on the street below and saw two of Buggy's men talking about finding her hid out of view until they went away. Nami clicked her tongue and tried to figure out what to do. After a couple of seconds she had a grin on her face and turned towards Luffy. "You know, I might consider joining you, but only if you'll agree to certain conditions," Nami said as her grin turned into a small smile. "Really, I'll do anything," Luffy said, and Nami's smile remained on her face as she pulled some rope out of nowhere and told him to hold still. Some time later, "Are you three sure this is the place?" Kuretsuchi's voice rang out over the dock as the group of pirates finally made it to land and were currently looking at the ghost town in front of them. "Yeah, this is it. Our crew scared all of the townspeople away when we arrived. Not one person lives in any of these houses now. One of Buggy's crew answered Kuretsuchi as Zoro and Naruto looked around the abandoned town. Well, first mate, any ideas where our captain might be? Zoro questioned his blonde-haired crewmate who just tilted his head and squinted his eyes. I have no idea. You got anything, Kuro-chan? I sense a lot of people in the center of the town, on top of a large building, and our baka of a captain is up there. Kuretsuchi replied as Naruto nodded and looked towards the three buggy pirates. Is that true? Your base is in the center of this town. The three stowaways nodded. Well, I guess that's where we are heading. Boom. Naruto was cut off when a giant explosion was heard and destroyed a large part of the town, including the houses in its wake. After the explosion died down, the group looked over and saw that the explosion was in a large line, with a large building in the town being the origin of the blast. That was one heck of an explosion, Zoro stated. It looked like it was one of the captain's special buggy balls. Buggy balls, Zoro said with a smirk at the ridiculous name. As horrible as that name sounds, it looks like they pack one hell of a punch. We need to keep an eye out for those things, Naruto said as he started walking towards the center of the town with Kuretsuchi and Zoro following behind. Nami looked towards the town with wide eyes as Buggy and his crew cheered at the destruction caused by a single buggy ball in the background. What Nami thought would be a simple grab and go turned into a festive of carnage before her. She had tricked the, unknown to her, rubber-headed idiot and brought him to Buggy and tricked the clown into thinking that she was betraying him to join his crew, which he accepted, and held a party in her honor. But when the clown captain decided to show her a demonstration of one of his flashy cannonballs, she was starting to regret it and wondered why he decided to show it to her. What do you think, Nami? Buggy spoke up, snapping Nami out of her thoughts. With these buggy balls and my devil fruit powers, I will have no problem conquering the Grand Line. Right, Nami. Nami quickly got out of her shocked state and smiled at Buggy. Yes, of course, Nami said before she and Buggy heard Luffy say something and look over towards him and saw him tied up with rope around him and locked inside a cage. No way, the one who's gonna conquer the Grand Line is me, Luffy said as Buggy became enraged. And then I'm gonna become the Pirate King. Just as Nami was about to tell Luffy to shut up, she could hear Buggy chuckling and turned her head towards the clown. Now I see why you can't stand him. That's right, he's so simple-minded about everything. He's like a little kid. I see. In that case, Buggy snapped his fingers and his men went to work loading the cannon. Why don't I give you a present? You can have the pleasure of blowing up this old boss of yours. Buggy's face gained a dark look as he looked towards Luffy. This is also a great opportunity to prove your loyalty to me. Buggy finished as his men rolled the cannon in front of Luffy while Nami and Buggy stood behind it. That's all right, Captain. I'm fine as it is. Since it's a party, let's all have some more fun, Nami said, trying to make the mad pirate change his mind but insisted and handed her a box of matches. Nami looked at the box in her hand as the pirate crew cheered her on to shoot the Straw Hat Boy and was trying to find a way out of this. If I don't shoot, I'll be killed. But if I do shoot, I'll be no better than these pirates, Nami thought as her hands started shaking. Now light the fuse, Nami, Buggy screamed as he joined his men in the cheering. Nami just stood there with her hands shaking, not doing anything as she continued to hear the cheering behind her and Luffy looking at her, showing no emotion on his face. What's wrong? Your hands are shaking, he said. This is what happens if you take on pirates with half-assed resolve. Resolve to do what? She asked, now looking at Luffy's face to see him smile. To kill someone like it's nothing. Is that a pirate's resolve? No, it's being prepared to risk your own life, he said with a determined look on his face. Nami was surprised by his answer and began to rethink this whole ordeal, but was cut short when she felt someone snatch the box of matches out of her hand and saw that it was one of Buggy's men. Here, new chick, don't be such a tease. This is how you light a match, the man said as he lit the match in his hand and it started to make its way towards the fuse. Before the man could say anything else, he was hit in the head hard by Nami, who was now holding a collapsible boss staff in her hands. Everyone on the roof looked at Nami in shock except for Buggy, who was looking at her with anger. Seeing what she had done, Nami looked and cursed under her breath and slowly turned around to face Buggy. Nami, what's the meaning of this? Buggy said in a threatening manner as Nami bowed to him. I'm sorry. What's the point of apologizing now? What are you doing? Didn't you just save me? Luffy asked Nami as she yelled at him. Don't be such an idiot. I'm not doing this for you. I won't stoop to the same level as these inhuman pirates. Oh, well thanks anyway. Nami tightened her grip on her staff as she looked towards Buggy's crew. Pirates took the life of a very important person to me, I'll never become one of them. She said with anger in her voice as Luffy nodded his head. Oh, I see. Ah, the fuse is lit, Luffy screamed. Looking over towards the cannon, Nami saw that the fuse was indeed lit and tried to think of a way to stop it. So you think us pirates are inhuman filth, huh bitch? Buggy roared as he threw some of his men towards the navigator. Nami saw them coming and swiped down at their leg, and they jumped over it and brought their swords down. She brought the staff up and blocked one of the pirates' blows, but they overwhelmed her and she let go of the staff. She then rushed past them and headed towards the cannon as Luffy was looking around frantically trying to find some water to put the fuse out with despite being trapped inside a cage. When Nami made it to the cannon, as did the first thing that came to mind and stopped the burning fuse with her hands. She yelled in pain as the fuse burned her skin but refused to let go. She let out a sigh a couple of seconds later when she saw that there was no more smoke and her hands stopped burning. Watch out! She tensed as Luffy screamed at her and turned around to see the same group of pirates with their cutlasses raised and ready to cut her down. Nami looked away and waited for the pain to come but was stopped when she heard a clicking sound and grunting behind her. To everyone else watching, all they saw was a flash of crimson before a blonde-haired teen entered their vision behind Nami and stopped the group in front of him. Naruto looked at the pirates with a bored expression on his face as he held his sword sheath in his left hand, hitting two pirates on the face and the sword itself in his right, showing it to be a black blade with a red hammer in a wave-like pattern, being held backwards with the flat edge on the blade hitting the three other pirates in the face as well. Oi, what's with all you guys attacking a lady while her back is turned? Naruto said in a tone that matched his posture. I thought even scum like you learned some manners. He finished as he pushed the brutes away and rested his sword on his shoulder. Naruto. Nami turned around and widened her eyes as she saw the same blonde-haired man she saw on Alvida's ship and Shell Island standing there with a sword on his shoulder as he turned his head slightly. Are you hurt? Huh, I asked if you're hurt. No, I'm fine. Nami answered him before she heard some more footsteps behind her and turned around to see a black-haired girl wearing some kind of red-pink clothes and a green-haired man with three swords strapped to his waist. Phew, thank goodness. You guys were actually able to find this place. Luffy said as Naruto fully turned around to face Luffy. We would have made it here sooner but Zoro got lost on the way. I did not. Zoro screamed. You were with us 1 second and 2 blocks away the next, what do you call that? Kuretsuchi asked as Zoro gained a tick mark. Shut up. Forget that, can you guys hurry up and get me out of here? Luffy interrupted as he struggled against his bindings. How do you keep getting yourself into these situations? First a bird flies off with you, now we find you stuck in a cage. Zoro said once he calmed down. It's an interesting story actually. Luffy replied, unaware of what the other group of pirates and Nami were thinking. As that blonde bastard just called him Zoro. You mean the bounty hunter? No way, Nami thought. These were the crew members he was talking about earlier, and one of them is the pirate hunter Zoro. What's going on? Naruto started walking towards his captain before he heard Buggy chuckle a little before speaking up. Hey, you with the green hair. Zoro looked up and saw the clown looking down to the ground. So you're Zoro, huh? So what if I am? Zoro said as he put his hand on his swords. If you're here for my head, you've got quite the struggle before you. Buggy said with confidence before Zoro snorted. Nope, not interested. I gave up pirate hunting. I'm here for my friend. Oh, but I'm interested. If I kill you, I'll become even more famous. Buggy looked up with a grin as Zoro stepped forward and gripped one of his swords. If you try, you'll die. Okay, Buggy said as he twirled around a knife in his hand. Don't say I didn't warn you. Zoro said with a sigh as he walked past Naruto and drew his swords. Buggy grinned as his men cheered him on got ready to kill the pirate hunter. Zoro himself just put the white-handled sword in his mouth and got into a stance and waited for the clown to make his move. As if an unseen signal was given, Buggy raced towards Zoro with 4 knives in one hand and a single one in the other while Zoro brought his swords up and waited. Die flashily. Slash. The Straw Hat crew looked on with wide eyes as Zoro expertly cut down Buggy as the clown was cut in half from the waist up in his right arm and leg as well. Zoro looked back as the clown's remains fell to the ground. That wasn't much of a fight, he said in disappointment as he sheathed all his swords. Wow, he is really weak. Way to go, Zoro, Luffy said from his prison as Naruto and Kuretsuchi looked on with narrowed eyes. No way, Nami said in disbelief before they all heard Buggy's crew start to laugh and wondered what was going on. Why are they laughing like that? Kuretsuchi asked. Their captain was killed and they're laughing. Fellas, what do you find so damn funny? Zoro asked the group of pirates as they laughed even louder. He was about to pull his swords out again before he felt a sharp pain in his gut and looked down to see a knife sticking out at it. Aghhh. Zoro, Luffy shouted as he saw Zoro fall to the ground in pain. What's with that hand? Nami questioned as she saw the knife being pulled out with a floating hand as Zoro turned around to see it float in the air before floating over to Buggy, whose torso and arms were floating as well while his legs stood up on their own. Bara bara no mi, chop chop fruit, Buggy said as his hand reattached itself to his arm before the rest of his body did as well. That's the name of the devil's fruit that gave me my powers. I can't be killed by a sword. I'm a splitting man. Gyahahahaha. His body went back together. I thought the devil's fruit was just a myth. So he's a splitting man, that's freaky. Luffy said in response to Nami's question. Totally. Kuretsuchi said in agreement as Naruto's sweat dropped at the pair. That coming from a stone woman and a rubber man. Although it's not critical, the wound is still pretty serious. So I'm guessing I'm the winner. Gyahahahaha. Buggy declared as his crew chanted his name and Nami gained a nervous look on her face. This is bad. The tables have turned. If we stay here, we won't be alive for long. Nami thought in panic as Buggy stood over Zoro ready to finish him off. Naruto got ready to take care of Buggy but was stopped by Luffy. Stabbing him in the back was a cowardly move, big red nose. Everyone there had their jaws dropped at what Luffy shouted while some of them wondered how stupid the kid was. The only one who wasn't think that was Buggy, who was slowly turning around towards the Straw Hat Boy. Who has a big red nose? Buggy screamed in anger as he threw a knife at Luffy who skidded back when it made contact with him. Luffy, Zoro said as he saw his captain in danger. Buggy, the clown captain looked up to see a grinning Luffy with his knife between his teeth. I'm gonna kick your ass as soon as I get out of this cage. He then bit down harder on the blade and snapped it in two. Yahahaha, kick my ass. You got a lot of nerve, kid. No, I'm afraid all 5 of you are gonna die here today. So if you're going to do any ass kicking, you better do it soon. It's all over, we're done for. Nami stated as the situation looked hopeless. Ha 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 ha, I refuse to die. Naruto, Luffy shouted as Naruto looked at his captain and saw him looking straight ahead of him. Naruto followed his line of sight and widened his eyes at what his captain had planned and smirked. You got it, Captain. Naruto said as he made his way towards the cannon. Zoro, get your ass out of there. What? The green-haired swordsman replied as he saw the blonde running towards them but stopped when Naruto reached the cannon and placed one hand on it and nodded. Seeing what he had planned, Zoro smirked and got up. I got ya. Nothing makes sense anymore, this is why I hate pirates. Nami thought as she made her way towards the blonde-haired pirate. Buggy saw what was happening and clashed with Zoro again as the swordsman paired all of the clown's attacks before slicing him in half again and jumping through. Idiot, your Santoryu has no effect on me. I already told you to hey, listen when I'm talking to you. Buggy shouted as he saw Zoro was running behind him and not paying attention. When Zoro finally made it towards Naruto, the blonde-haired first mate grabbed the barrel of the giant cannon and easily lifted it up and pointed it in the direction of Buggy and his crew. Said crew started freaking out as the cannon was now pointed towards them and telling them to stop. Hey, Naruto got Nami's attention. You can light this thing right. Nami nodded her head as Naruto pointed towards Buggy and his crew. Then can you please hurry up and light it? I'm on it. Wait, just wait. Buggy screamed out. The cannon's still loaded with a special buggy ball. I don't want to go out like this. Stop. Buggy's screams fell on deaf ears as Nami lit the fuse and covered her ears for the oncoming explosion. I can't believe you just did that, you bitch. Wait. No, stop. Stop it now. BOOOOM. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.